So as I'm sure you're all aware, Newcastle are absolutely fucking flying right now, and while there's numerous individuals who deserve credit in taking them from fighting relegation to potentially finishing in a Champions League spot, I want to focus on Sean Longstaff for a minute, a man whose own resurgence resembles that of his boyhood clubs this season. While his career got off to a flyer, with many claiming he's every bit as good as Declan Rice, and Man United being quoted as much as 50 million quid for his services, a knee ligament injury, as well as working with Steve Bruce, which was probably worse than the injury in all fairness, saw him fall away into the abyss for a couple of years. Not only was he out of contention for a starting berth, but fell out of love with football altogether, as illustrated by this raw and honest quote. As much as I didn't enjoy football, I think the biggest thing was I didn't like me. I wasn't great with family and took out my frustrations on them. We'd go out for a meal and I'd be sat there miserable in the corner. I was there in person but checked out mentally. Truth be told, I was a bit of an arse and knew I had to change. The straw that broke the camel's back was when Longstaff was having breakfast with his dad and younger brother Matty in 2021 before breaking down into tears. His close friend and teammate Matt Ritchie heard about the incident and texted him the number of a psychologist, and thankfully, he hasn't looked back ever since. What really stood out from Longstaff's revelations was the difference a manager can make for a player not just on the pitch, but off it too, as Steve Bruce not only failed in improving him at the training ground, but also in putting an arm around his shoulder when he needed it the most. This is precisely why there was a sliding doors moment in January of last year, as Longstaff was a whisker away from signing with Everton and reuniting with the man who gave him his big break in Rafa Benitez. Were it not for the arrival of Eddie Howe, that move would have almost certainly gone through, which just goes to show you the fine margins which exist at the very highest level. Not only has Longstaff become a linchpin in Howe's midfield, featuring in every game across every single competition this season, but also someone who's now a positive influence to be around due to man management alone. Regardless of the fact that he's a professional and an adult, almost every single human being is more likely to thrive in an environment where they're both wanted and given responsibility, as opposed to one in which they're not. And this is the part of Howe's genius which often goes under the radar. In Longstaff's own words, I spoke to the new manager more in his first month than I did with the previous one over 2 years, which really does say it all. Needless to say, Newcastle have made some truly transformative signings post-takeover, but when you look at the 11 who fucked Tottenham upside down over the weekend, 5 of the starters in Longstaff, Cher, Willock, Joelinton, and Jacob Murphy were all at the club prior to any money coming in, and that in itself is an achievement and a half. Given Southgate wants to continue setting his side up with a double pivot in midfield, it's surely only a matter of time before Longstaff gets an England call-up, but you can never know for sure as he does have his favourites, especially in that position. Overall, I just wanted to shed some light on this issue really, because it just goes to show you how minor changes can make a major difference in the life of any given individual. I hope this fella keeps smashing it, and I wish him and Newcastle nothing but the very best moving forward. On a slightly more serious note, if any of you happen to be struggling with anything, feel free to drop me a message in the comments below or on Instagram DM. I'd be more than happy to chat with you, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care and I'll catch you in the next one, folks. Peace.